adventures this today with Star West 2022. We had just the opportunity to meet a new friend that we started to talk about performance topics and things that I was like, we need to talk about this and share it with the people, share it with the world. So with me, we have Venkash Mittal.
Vikas Mittal.
Vikas Mittal. Sorry, I was afraid I was going to butcher your name, but he's coming with Xebia. Did I say it right?
Correct, Xebia.
Yes. And he's presenting, talking about performance. They are exhibitors here. And let's hear some of the ideas and some of the topics that he's bringing. But before that, because how can you share a little bit about you? What are you up to, and what's the deal with you?
Sure. Thanks, Leonardo, for having me on with you. So my name is Vikas Mittal. I'm a president of engineering services with Xebia, and I've been in the industry for almost 2 decades now. Started out as a developer, worked as a developer, Java developer for pretty much 5 years initially, then moved to testing. And I've been consulting largely Fortune 50 customers on how to go about implementing good engineering practices in some of the software delivery, and performance comes as a major part of it. And with cloud, it has actually become even more important for people to understand why performance is paramount importance even in the cloud.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that introduction and welcome. And let's start up with that topic that which got us with a very good conversation that we were having about the cloud. You mentioned right away there and then, I was super happy to hear it, that there are some risks with these organizations that think that just because the cloud providers promise that they wouldn't have to worry about performance being in the cloud, but that's not entirely true, right? Can you elaborate?
True, and that's definitely not entirely true, because you can throw more hardware at your application, but if your application is not developed right, no matter how much hardware you throw at it using auto scaling, at some point it will choke. And with throwing more hardware, leveraging cloud auto scaling, you're only going to increase your cloud bill and not the customer experience. Because inherent problem is, if your applications is designed poorly, or if it is architected poorly and your database queries are not written clearly, at some point they will give up.
Yeah.
And we have seen that happening with multiple customers.
And in this context, it's true, and I think it was even true when we had like bare metal in
Yes.
our data centers. It costed more machines, more electricity, more power, or cooling because servers get hot. And with the cloud, it's the same. You will get a bigger bill for your cloud services, especially with auto scaling. And even some of providers I have heard like, no, if you turn off auto scaling, you won't go with the bill higher. But even without it, I have seen some environments where like you are using CPU power and we're going to charge you for that. If you're not using it well, it's going to be a higher cost. So um, tell us how Cibia is helping on this, or how are you suggesting to do to mitigate this possible situation with the cloud?
Sure. So Xebia is one of the top three providers for cloud services and cloud implementations for Google Cloud and AWS. I think one of the primary advice which we give to our customers is, when you think about cloud, think about as money in the bank to be safe to be spent.
Hmm.
Because typically cloud companies, like you said, tell the customers you don't need to worry about the performance, will auto scale it. But auto scaling comes with a cost. And I believe in a word that cloud is cheap only till the time you're not using it. The moment you start to use cloud, the bill will come,
Yeah.
and it comes. So the way we work with our customer is to look at three aspects of their cloud deployment. One is the architecture of the application itself. Is it designed in a way where you don't have to scale the cloud infrastructure for entire application, but you can scale only that part of the application which is heavily used? So to
Hmm.
give you an example of an e-commerce application, for an e-commerce, probably search and checkout the most heavily used pieces. But we have seen customers who deploy the entire e-commerce platform on every cloud server, and that way
Hmm.
they have to scale it like tremendously. The second aspect is, when we work with our customers, we try to tell them to differentiate between transactional database and reporting database,
Yeah.
because most of the customers think of database as one singular element, but you don't need your reporting database to be backed up
Mm-hmm.
every hour. Transactional, yes. So that can again save you cloud cost. And the third aspect is, don't set up auto scaling for markets where you don't see pressure. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of customers set up auto scaling throughout their infra for all geos, which again increases the cloud cost.
That's very interesting because when you mention in the reporting part, I've always seen some most of the reports that we generate on systems do not have to be live, generated live. You can pre-generate them, have them backed up or placed elsewhere. And sadly, many organizations I have walked into that do those reports live. Why? It's not something that is truly changing that you need to do. And
True.
probably out of some of the uh, differentiators that you are indicating or you help to optimize, right?
Correct. That is true.
How do you identify some of these ones? Because are you familiar with the Pareto Principle?
Yes. 80/20.
Uh huh.
So that's
That's what you were referring to, right?
true. That principle applies pretty much everything you do. And like you're right, 80% of the reports which the customers generate are not even looked into. They're generated because somebody in the higher up management asked for it once. And instead of eliminating that report beyond a time, they keep on adding more reports. And like most majority of the reports can be done as a day end job or as a weekend job rather than running during your busy hours on the cloud.
Yeah, and report generation is one of the heaviest
Yes.
tasks that a system can do, and I don't know why organizations keep insisting on generating them live. Some of them are needed to be
Yes.
live, but
Correct.
just some. Again, Pareto principle.
Yes.
Which
Absolutely true.
ones? And it mixes with the business need. Like this report is for the past quarter. Why do you keep generating again that information where you have it once, as you say, batch job in the night, a weekend, and be good with it?
I can actually give you one example for a customer which we recently saw. So they had a quarterly performance report, and for a past quarter, the performance is already logged. You don't need to recalculate it all over again. And every time that report was generated, it used to recalculate the data for the entire year.
Oh, why? Wait, it was a quarter report,
It was a quarter report, but
but
when
why
it
the entire year?
correct, but that is how it was designed. So nobody actually tested the design, and that is where I was saying testing is still important, because if a tester was involved, he would have caught this issue. That okay, you don't need to really generate a report for past 2 quarters live now.
Hmm. No, and that's aligned mostly with reporting, right? But
Yes,
I'm sure that you find it in many other areas on the system, many other processes. And we already, I'm guessing you use Pareto principle elsewhere, not only reports, right?
true. So we do Pareto principle also on the selection of transactions for performance, or even for test cases for automation. I think one of the biggest elements, if you need to talk about testing or test automation, a lot of people keep on executing their large regression suits for a fear of failure.
Hmm.
That if I skip some test cases from automation and a bug is reported into production, I will be held responsible. But what they don't realize, you keep on adding cost to software development by executing those 80% test cases, which no longer give you a bug.
Hmm.
So that is also again one area where we work with our customers, leveraging machine learning and data science. And that is part
Cool.
of my talk tomorrow, of how you can really identify what test cases or what transactions for that matter, for both functional and performance automation, need to be identified as candidate, where you need to invest money to automate those scenarios and execute them as a regression pack, or include them as part of your performance pack.
That's extremely cool. Before, I mean, I'm very curious, and we need to talk a little bit about your presentation tomorrow. But for the ones that are not familiar with the Pareto principle, I assume that everyone, and we just kept going, is better known as the 80/20 rule, where 80% of your problems, transactions, performance issue will come from 20% of your available transactions or the available actions that you can have. And this is a translation for performance. It can be applied to, it's been applied everywhere else in life. Actually, Mr. Pareto was an Italian economist that defined it on real estate in Italy. So It applies elsewhere, but it's especially important and useful in performance testing, in QA and quality processes. It's incredibly, and I'm super happy to know that that's the cornerstone and many of your
Correct.
works, right?
Yes, it is.
And okay, with that aside, now we're here at Starist, and we are gonna be getting a very good um, presentation from Vikas. What is the title of your presentation, and what are you gonna be talking about?
So the title of my presentation tomorrow is, in the digital world where everything is in multiples, why are the testing budgets still singular? How
Hmm.
you are expected to deliver good, effective, efficient customer experience with reducing testing budgets every year.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, today when you're talking about testing a simple application, you're testing that application on at least two desktop OS, Windows and Mac. You're testing on at least two mobile OS, Android and iOS, and multiple iOS devices, and even the Android ecosystem is even bigger.
Hmm.
And then you bring in the integration of interoperable APIs, package software. A simple app suddenly becomes very complex to test.
Yeah.
And the expectations is that from the end customer, that no matter from where I start using your application, my experience should persist. But at the same time, in the last few years, we have seen people questioning the spend on testing, and they're always looking to cut down the spend on testing. But the fact is, 65% of your customers would leave your business for after one or two bad customer experiences. So yeah,
And never ever come
come
back.
back.
Yeah, that's a very high reacquisition cost of those
Correct.
customers. And not only on customers, because many organizations often say, like, I don't care that it's for employees, internal employees. And um, do you usually explain to them what's the impact on those
True.
processes?
Because I think that is something which COVID brought out very beautifully, that your employees are your customers as well.
What
Because
happens if the employee cannot work well?
employee cannot work, what happens if they cannot perform? Your business suffers, and with frustration, your employees can leave as well.
Yeah, there are a lot of impacts, because one, you created that system for your employees to become more efficient.
Yes.
But if they cannot be more productive and your system makes them less productive, the business gets losses. You will probably lose people or low morale. That's another one where you're depressed. I don't want to use this system and it's horrible. I've seen that so many places. I mean, I think we all have experienced that, to be having to use a platform that it's really bad performing or functional wise. And one thing that in your talk you're going to be sharing some of these principles, keys that are really important. And I'm curious, what do you use to identify these elements, these key things, tool wise? What do you like to use to detect?
So from a tool standpoint, we pretty much leverage open source technology through and through, because we are a big proponent of open source.
Good.
In fact, Xebia is one of the primary contributors to Java Spring Boot ecosystem.
Okay.
Majority of Java Spring Boot has actually been written by Xebians.
Oh, cool.
So we are one of the major contributors to open source. So from our testing tooling, we use primarily open source, but I think from a performance standpoint, we use JMeter with BlazeMeter combinations. We use Grafana for our reporting. We have Micro Focus load runner being leveraged by a lot of our performance center for that matter. But we also have our own homegrown solution, which
Mm-hmm.
we have built on top of open source,
Okay.
which leverages data science and machine learning to optimize your testing cost. Because, like I said, one of the big factors everyone is looking for is how I can deliver faster, but at the same time reduce my cost
Hmm.
and time. And that is what we look forward to deliver.
Everyone always wants better, faster, cheaper, easier. And in this, why we started talking and wanting to share this, who the people that know me know that I'm a big proponent of shifting left and developers first, or QAs enabling developers, all this. And you were saying that that's not completely fit for every situation. And we had a you made really good points on these cases when it's not the best viable option. Could you share some of those
Sure.
perspectives?
So basically, I broadly classify the tech as two aspects. One is the people who are producing technology
Mm-hmm.
and people who are consuming technology. And if you look at the enterprise world, again, applying Pareto principle, 80% of the people are using technology as an enablement for their business.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about, we are in Disney, when you talk about Disney, they're not a producer of technology, they're a consumer of technology. They're using technology to enable business. You talk about Pepsi, you talk about any large enterprise, they're all consumers of technology.
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, you have people like Google, people like Amazon, who are producers of technology, or Microsoft, who are producers of technology. So they may follow certain principles of developers first test, which may work for them because they have that clarity of vision, thought of what they want to achieve, and their scrum masters or the storyboards are designed in that way. But people like Disney or consumers of technology, they are reacting to the need of the market.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not producing. So they cannot have the same engineering principles applied, which probably Google has. So the developer first mindset works for producers of technology, does not work for every consumer of technology. That is the first aspect. The other aspect is, as per the research from Gartner and others, but in the next 3 years, 30% of the businesses who are consumers of technology will be moving towards packaged software.
Mm-hmm.
So that essentially means they're going to be using Salesforce, ServiceNow, or some other packaged software for majority of the business needs. The general mindset or belief is, if I am using a packaged software, I don't need to test. Yes, you don't need to test if you are using a packaged software the way it was delivered to you. Moment you're integrating that packaged software with your other in-house
Or
systems
customizing
or
that as well.
customizing the application workflow of the package software, it is no longer a package software. You have made changes, and that would require to test for both performance and functional integration.
Mm-hmm.
Just to give you one example, recently we were working with an insurance customer, and they were using one of the top leading machine learning uh, package software in the world. The software works perfectly fine because it's used by millions of customers, but for them, it was returning a performance response back of 14 seconds,
Oh wow.
which is not definitely acceptable. That also on a load of two concurrent users, not even 200. Only for two concurrent users, it was coming back with a response time of 14 seconds. When we analyzed the reports, it came out that the algorithm they have written on top of that machine learning package software was not designed correctly. And that,
Generating data logs with two
correct.
users, I already know that. Yeah.
And that is why it didn't work.
Uh-huh.
So that's my point. For consumers of technology, testing and performance or functional automation is still very much required. They cannot compare themselves with producers of technology.
I do agree. To do an analogy, and you got me thinking. Some organizations, yeah, we have good developers and they know how to integrate, and the QA can indicate them. But some others, and when you said like consumers, if I'm a consumer of a product like a cell phone, I don't have to learn how to enter into developer mode anytime that I need to use it. I just need a cell phone for my daily business, organization, whatever, to work. And some organizations cannot afford to become like cell phone experts, rocket scientists, or to give some other examples, right?
True.
And in those situations, that's where we can help on corporate solutions, like easy to automate, because as you say, the no matter what you do, the product is already packed, sealed, compiled, whatever. You just receive these outputs. And in the point of the customizations, where they have to do it or when they have to change it, that counts as development. But again, you're not supposed to become a developer expert. So it's a tough balance. I liked a lot your point, where it makes us think like not everything has to be one way in performance, and both ways have to integrate.
Correct.
Because I think that some of the these packed solutions, they should be given as well easy ways to kind of know these performance possible integration issues. Um, do you know of any that are there like
No,
providing that?
and that actually is one of the biggest missing element of these package software solutions, because they publish metrics for what they are validated against, but they don't provide you insights in terms of how the
Is it
app is
truly?
performing once integrations are done or
Hmm.
once customization is done. So that element of information post changes is not available in any package software.
And in parts of the services that you do, that um, this focuses more on observability, right?
Yes.
To be aware of what is happening. And you mentioned that you use Grafana for that. How do you
Yes.
leverage it? A quick example of an average.
So Grafana, the way it helps us is it helps us to bring together all those KPI and matrices into a single database and give a visualization to the end customer of what is exactly is happening with their application in production environment. Because today a lot of customers talk about multiple KPIs,
Hmm.
but at the end of the day, it boils down to what really works and what does not work. And that is where I think when companies are defining KPIs for performance, they have to really look at what is they want to measure, not the same cookie cutter matrices works for everyone.
Hmm.
So that I think is something which the industry has to mature to.
Yeah, that's a very big rule, and you opened my eyes a little bit because I was like, no, developers only first and blah. But performance testing is not a silver bullet. That's one straightforward, and QA in general. And
Yes.
QA in general is not like the one process and methodology to rule them all. You have different paths, different things, different situations where I think um, continuous monitoring, important KPIs to observe. Pareto again, I
Yes.
totally agree with you that what is important for you to be continuously checking and observing and have observability into that and know what is happening, trigger alerts, trigger more information. I know it's a an awesome perspective. Thank you for sharing it, and thank you for agreeing to come and give your perspective. If people want to hear more from you, get more services, hire or get some help, where can they reach you? Where can they find more about you, content, whatever you want to share?
I think people can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I think that's the easiest way for them to reach out to me. So they can look for me up on LinkedIn.
Look for,
Vikas Mittal on LinkedIn.
can you spell your name just for the
Yeah,
people, just in case?
Vikas
Uh-huh.
Mittal. I'm also there on Twitter,
Okay.
and I'm soon probably gonna upload a lot of my talks, which I've.
What is
Uh,
your Twitter handle?
my Twitter handle is Vikas Mittal
No spaces altogether.
altogether DEL.
Mm-hmm.
So that's essentially my Twitter handle, and I'm soon gonna be launching my podcast on YouTube.
Oh,
So I'll
cool.
share those details with you.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We will make sure to repost them. You said you had talks in already in YouTube, or you're about
I
to?
have a few talks on YouTube, but I'm gonna make my channel public. It's still in a private mode.
Okay. Work
I
in progress.
work in progress, and I do mentorship programs free of cost. So I do mentor a lot of folks uh, in the experience range of 8 to 15 years
Mm-hmm.
on what they should do next. Because I think as a testing community, a lot of people get lost in this
It's a
experience
huge
range
world. Yeah, you can
of
get lost
what
easily.
they should do next. So yeah, that's what I'm helping out people across the globe of what they should do next.
Awesome. Okay, everyone, pay attention, check, and he's very willing to help people. I love that attitude, and do not hesitate to reach out. And God, thank you very much
Thanks for
for
having me
joining
here.
us and to agreeing to sit here. And everyone, stay tuned. Hopefully, we will do one more time today, and see you soon. And